I'm going to show you how to use the command line interface to load and restore configuration. This is useful when you want to do a complete system backup or when you want to use parts of the configuration and deploy in various forms on different systems. So for this we're going to use the command line shell. So I have an ID server installation, the Curity 2.1 version, and in there, in the ID server, there's a bin directory and we have the command idsh. You probably used this command before. If you haven't seen it, I recommend the tutorial on introducing the command line interface. So I enter the configuration mode, and in here I can view the configuration and see what we currently have in our system. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the save command. So I want to save the entire configuration. And I'm going to do it in XML format, so I give it a file name. And as you know, if you use the tab, you get the options of what you can type. So I'm going to use XML format. So save conf XML. That's it. If I exit the command line interface, I'll do like this so it's higher up and clear. You can see that I now have a file called conf.xml here in my directory. So if we look at that, you can see that it's the entire configuration of the server. So let's change it slightly. So if I'll edit conf.xml and say that I change the name of this environment to foobar, and maybe it's another domain, maybe we're going to move this to test.example.com. I have a different conf.xml now. So if I go back into the ID server shell command into the configuration mode, but instead of save I do load, and I can select from merge, override or replace, depending on, are you loading an entire configuration, parts of it, and what do you want to do. So in this case it was the entire configuration, so I'm going to use replace, and then I tab again, and then since I started the command from the directory where I had the file, that's the current directory it shows the files from. Otherwise I can reach the entire file system on the machine from here. So conf.xml. Now it loaded the configuration, but as you know, it doesn't change until I type commit. This means that we're currently working on a changed configuration of the system. So what happened? Well, I could do the compare running brief command to see what's going to change when I hit commit. So even though I loaded the entire configuration as a file into Curity, it found that only 2 lines actually will change, only 2 configuration items, the name of the environment and the base URL of the environment. So I'll type commit, we're done. So Curity will always diff and do the minimal change that's needed on the system in order to move from one set of configurations to the next. But it's not needed to always dump the entire configuration. Sometimes you might just want to pick a part. So we could use the save command again. Let's take the environments, let's take the deployments. So say env.xml, for instance. I recommend the XML format because it's handy to work with even when you store it in Git and such. And there's a lot of editing tools that work for you there. So save env.xml in XML format, but let's continue and give it a path. So I'm going to give it environments, services. So I'm just going to store the services. That's it. If we look at this, we can see that it stored just the service section, but from the root up, which is very useful. So if I want to say add another node or do something with that, I can just copy that, add another one, and let's see, oops, copy too much. So there are services, service, admin 2, or maybe runtime. Maybe it's going to listen on 77, like that, save it, and go into the CLI again, configure, load, this time let's do load merge with what we got and .xml and compare. And as you can see, it just added another node to the existing configuration. So if we look at environments, services, service, we can see that if I commit this, I'll end up with an admin service and a runtime service. So it added into the configuration that we had. We didn't replace anything. I'm going to discard that, skip those changes, and exiting the CLI. So one useful thing that you can do, now that you know that you can take parts and pick and choose the way you want, is that you can script this. So I've prepared a script called autoconfig.sh. Here I'm going to set a port. I'm going to set a new port on the system. And I'm going to create a new OAuth client and give it a secret. And this secret I'm going to take as a shell command or a shell variable. So I'm going to run the ID server shell script to the end of file, and here I simply add the commands that I want to do. So just as you would do it in the command line interface, you type them in a script like this. So first step, I want to load and merge a client that I call the gateway client, an XML file that I have. Secondly, I also want to update the client secret. So in the profile on the authorization server, I want to set the gateway client secret. I'll give it a bit more width so you can see it, secret, and I'll set it to the variable secret. And then finally I'll set environment services admin listening port to a new port. Then commit, exit, and here I can choose no confirm to not have to type in yes or no, exit, and end of file, this is the CLI script I will run. So the nice part about this is that it will actually run and add all of these changes into the same transaction. So if one of them fails or for some reason doesn't match, or maybe I screwed up the gateway client file, then it won't commit. So then the Curity will run as it was before. So let's save and exit and run autoconfig, commit complete. And that means we should have received a new port. So if I go into configuration mode, show environments, the admin service, we can see, yes, it has the 9888 port. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you learned a few things. Thank you.